Howdy, y'all. Caleb here, and we're talking LVO. If you watch any of the coverage that was popping up online this past weekend, you saw that the Las Vegas Open was happening. It's one of the biggest tournaments for AOS, maybe in the world, definitely in the US. And they had almost 200 players playing Age of Sigmar in Las Vegas. So pretty awesome. So today we're going to look at some of the lists, the Seraphon lists that showed up at LVO. And looking right here at our result sheets, we actually did this. You boys did a bang up job down there in Las Vegas. So Seraphon had a pretty good showing. If we look at our results here on the screen, we can see that nobody went worse than 3-2. That's pretty awesome. That means Seraphon's in a pretty strong state right now. It didn't win the tournament. We'll look at who won that, but some great showings from Seraphon. We're going to break into the top 5 lists here and kind of see how it did against the meta list, which is your Storm Drake and your Fulminators. So let's see who. Let's look at who won the tournament. So our first list we're going to look at is Gavin's, and he's a Texas boy. He's from Houston. Don't hold the Houston against him. He's from Texas, so that's good enough for this tournament. No, Gavin's a great player. I've played him a couple times, and I have never won versus him. He's a great player. He's taken Living Cities here, which is a fantastic faction for these new Stormcast units to be taken into. He's got 3 heroes here: Doralia, that little wizard hunter, sorceress, and a free guild general. And with this list, a lot of times I shy away from just foot heroes, but Gavin showed us here that if you have enough damage in the rest of your army, maybe you don't need those big hero monsters smashing around the table when you've got enough damage coming other places. So that's interesting. 3 heroes all on foot. Now they can pass off a few wounds here and there because it's Living Cities of Sigmar, but still, that's pretty impressive. Battle line had 30 crossbowmen. This was pretty cool. In that those 30 crossbowmen, and he's got another 10 down there to support him. They're putting out a ton of shots across the board. They're hitting. You can get them down to hitting on 2s and 2s. I think I heard him saying, and they can double their shots when they don't move. And so think of those guys kind of like skinks, but better. You can't move them, so they're not going to be very mobile. You're going to want to kind of camp them on your objective and then shoot all the way across the board. But that pairs real well with the rest of the damage that he had. And that is those 4 Fulminators and 4 Storm Drake Guard. In Living Cities, those things are going to be moving all across the board, and they're going to still do a ton of damage in his list. And so very, very good list there, piloted by a very good player. It's no surprise that Gavin took out LVO. A great player with a great list and some great units there. So our number 1 placing Seraphon list goes to number 16, and it's Ridge Hanna. You'll recognize his name from Season of War. If you're not subscribed to Season of War, go do it. They do. I mean, their battle reports are the best in the business. So go subscribe to their channel and watch. He plays Seraphon on there a lot. Very experienced with them. Takes them to quite a few tournaments and does quite well. And so he came in at number 16 in the entire tournament. Incredible, awesome placing there. He did go 4-1 with this list, and he took a Dracothian's Tail. So let's take a look at what he's got in this list. He does have a Star Master as his general with Ancient Knowledge, God Beast Pendant. So he gets an extra spell there, and he's taking the Stellar Tempest and Flaming Weapon, which is interesting choice for Flaming Weapon there. I guess if the Slan gets in trouble and needs to cast it on himself, that he can. I was a little surprised when I saw that he's taking Prize Sorcery as his grand strategy. But then I noticed that, he's got the God Beast Pendant, which is, from Dracothian's Tail. So you have a chance to come back upon death. And he's got 2 units of Source Guard here to help out with his wounds on a Slan. So his Slan is probably not going to die. I would imagine it didn't die most of this tournament unless somebody just poured in a whole lot, because those Source Guard are going to give that Slan an extra 20 wounds. And then even if you do get through all that, on a 4-up, his Slan's coming back full health. And so that really does help negate against accidentally losing your Slan and Dracothian's Tail turn 1 if you get Alpha Strike or something. I don't think he would position him bad enough to do that, but if that were to happen somehow, those guard really help out, and God be Pennant to keep him alive. So good strategy there with Prize Sorcery. That Slan's probably not dying most of these tournaments. We got a Skink Priest with Universal Prayer of Guidance that gives you some extra command points. And that Priest is probably going to be buffing up some Salamanders as he needs those. Probably keep one on the board so you can buff him up with that Skink Priest and then teleport him where he needs him. Astrolith Banner Bearer to help out the Slan, get more distance. And with the summoning, help you get some more summoning. Battle line, we had a couple of Source Guard and 10 Skinks to fill out the battle line. And then here's the real meat. We've got 6 Salamanders here, and we're going to be doing a lot of damage with that, but also he's gone filthy. He's gone for some Storm Drake Guard. So we've already got the damage output from the Salamanders, and now we've got the movement and the anvil of those Storm Drake Guard. They can still do some damage, but they've got just some incredible board presence. So this list is very mobile. It can get wherever it needs to be on the board, and it has quite a bit of damage output from the Salamanders and from the Storm Drake Guard. So a good all-around list here. Comes in at 1980, and I think it was 2 drops. I think I cut that off. It was 2 drops, so that really helps kind of get that priority and be able to kind of determine the flow and hopefully get that double turn going from 1 to 2 to really make those Salamanders hurt. Let's see who he faced off against. So he had some good matchups here. His round 1, he was playing against Lumineth Realm Lords, and he got a win versus 30 Sentinels. So that's good there. Those Sentinels can be tough. You know, that they can really pick out the pieces. But when a lot of your stuff is off the board or out of range, like the Storm Drake Guard, those Sentinels aren't going to do much on that first turn. He got a win in the second round versus Fangs. This was Croak, 70 Skinks, and 2 Dragons. So a bit of a, not quite a mirror match, a lot more Skinks in that one. No Salamanders, and so I bet you Ridge had a little bit more damage output than the Fangs list had. Round 3, he got IDK versus 3 Sharks, 2 Turtles. No Eels in this one, but I bet that was a fun game. A lot of monsters on the board on the Enough Deepkin list with all those Sharks and Turtles. Those Turtles can be hard to get through, but he's got enough mortal wound output between the Dragons and the Salamanders that those Turtles will go down pretty quick once you get some mortals into them. Had a loss versus Ogre Mawtrides, 2 Frostlord Stonehorns, and 9 Yetis in this list. An interesting list there. Those Stonehorns can shed off those mortals that you're trying to get through. They both of them have a 5-up ward save versus mortals, and then they can slap back when they get a hold of you. And so they may have been able to get a hold of those Salamanders, shrug off the mortals, and take them out maybe. Round 5, he got a win versus the Stormcast Dragon Spam. That was a Knight Draconis and 10 Dragons. Oh, man. That was probably a rough list, but he beat him like a champ and got the win in round 5 versus the meta dragon list. So well done, Ridge. Well done. Next up, we have Riley. He came in 18th overall. A great showing. Also went 4-1 with a Thunder Lizard list. And this list here, this one's more my liking. It's got some Stegodons in it. So let's take a look at his list here. We got an Engine of the Gods with the Fusel of Conflagration and the Cursed Prayer. It's a pretty standard loadout for the Engine of the Gods. I really like that one. Slan, Stellar Tempest, Skink Priest with Heal, Star Priest with Hand of Glory. Some all good takes there, all pretty standard. Stegodon with Skink Chief as your general. So they get the Prime War Beast. They also get the mount trait of Beastmaster. He's got Savage here, but it's Beastmaster. You can choose between Swift and Savage. Skystreak Bow, obviously, and Artifacts of Power, Cloak of Feathers. So love that loadout there on the Skink Chief. He can do a ton of damage with Prime War Beast, with Savage, with the Sacred Asterism, giving him another attack, with his command ability, giving him another attack. And he's fast and flying with that Cloak of Feathers. So fantastic loadout there for the Skink Chief. Battle line, we got 2 units of Skinks and a unit of Source Guard. Source Guard there to help the Slan out. And then 1 Salamander and Gotrek. Yes, as well as the Life Swarm. So man, he's looking to do some damage in melee here. That's where most of his damage is going to come from. Not a whole lot of shooting. I mean, you got a little bit with the Skink Chief, enough to pop off a hero sometimes. A little bit with the Salamander, but you're looking to get that Skink Chief on Seganon into melee and Gotrek into melee. Um, and this list has a couple different ways that you can heal up Gotrek. You know, you can get him from the Slans spell to heal him up to D3. You've got the heal from the Skink Priest to heal him up if you need to, and you've got Emerald Life Swarm. So as you get those guys stuck in, Gotrek and the Skink Chief are going to stay alive for quite some time. So 10 drops, really high drops, but you may not be too worried if you're going first. Shooting Gotrek up the middle of the board, getting him into position with a run, maybe summoning in some warriors from the engine. But pretty high drops there. But I think it's kind of worth it to get Gotrek into Hunters. Gotrek in Hunters is a lot of fun because nobody can do any monstrous actions against him, which is because he's not a leader, and so he can't go into, or he gets to go into Hunters of the Heartland. So it's kind of a weird list building trick, but pretty cool. Pretty cool. Riley's matchups. He had some tough matchups. I'm not gonna lie. We've got round 1 versus Living Cities. This was 4 Fulminators, 4 Stormdrake, and 3 Scourge Runner Chariots. So I had to look those up. Can these be battle line? As he had a little foot hero that could make them battle line. Pretty cool though. You're kind of your Living Cities there, but Riley gets the win. Got the win versus one of those picks that is kind of tearing up the list right now. Living Cities with 4 Fulminators and 4 Stormdrakes. So well done there, Riley. Great win versus what's one of those meta lists. I think you're going to see quite a bit. Round 2, you got a win versus Iron Jaws, Maw Crusher, 15 Ardbors, 15 Brutes. That's a pretty thick list. But I think Riley's list kind of wants to get into melee, so he probably didn't mind getting in there. And Coalesce is so good versus Iron Jaws, reducing their damage. Round 3, you got a win versus Beast of Chaos. This one looked like a fun list to play against. I mean, it was 3 Gorgons or Cygors. I think there was 2 Gorgons, 1 Cygor. So Beast of Chaos with a bunch of big monsters on it. That was probably a pretty fun list to see on the table. Then another win versus Iron Jaws, your kind of standard 2 Maw Crushers, 9 Pigs list. A lot of beef there, a lot of good melee punch, but they get too close to Gotrek and it's game over. Round 5, he went up against Living Cities. This was Gavin's list: 4 Fulminators, 4 Stormdrake, and 30 crossbows. So those crossbows could probably just burn down Gotrek turn 1. They're throwing out 80 shots. No Ren, but who cares? 1 damage, who cares? Because that's what you want to do to take care of Gotrek, is just high quantity, low quality, and that's what'll kill Gotrek. So they may have been able to take out Gotrek and then hit some of the other stuff with the Fulminators and Stormdrake. So hey, don't feel bad about losing to Gavin. We've all been there. So great showing there by Riley. He had kind of a little murderer's row here. 2 Living Cities, 2 Iron Jaws with kind of Beast of Chaos as your palate cleanser there in the middle. Next up, we had Basil coming in with his Thunder Lizard list, and he came in at 29th overall. And Thunder Lizard, obviously, let's see, we got Engine of the Gods with Cloak of Feathers and Curse. We've got here's an interesting little twist here, a Scarvet on Carnosaur with the War Spear, of course, the Fusel of Conflagration, and Beastmaster. And so this can be a pretty fun list here because the Scarvet, it's got a lot of flexibility. Now, the Scarvet isn't always going to do a ton of damage, but it can. Those instances where it does, it can do a lot of damage. But with the Fusel, you have the chance to do some mortals, and then you get to still charge if you've run, because that's one of the rules on the War Scroll. Once this model does some damage, now you can run and still charge. You've also got Beastmaster that will let you run and charge if you need to, and so it's got some interesting play here. It can be a very fast piece, and you can flip that mount trait to do different things. You've got the Fusel to do some mortals, and then it can still do some damage, and it's only 215 points. So it's not a bad hero there to take, especially with that loadout. I like the Fusel on the Scarvet because it can have some interesting plays. Skink Priest with heal, Star Priest with Hand of Glory, of course, Star Master as General with Arcane Might. I love that. I keep taking this as my my General with Arcane Might. Even if I'm not going spell heavy, this allows me to kind of control those important spells. I get a reroll to it. I'll usually be at +2, and so I get those rerolls on the Slann to really help me kind of control the not only my opponent's spells, but also really get off the one that I want to get off. 30 skinks for battle line, and then 10 and 10 skinks also to fill out the battle line. That 30 skinks, they can still do work in Thunder Lizards. Don't count them out just because you're in Thunder Lizards. Skinks, 30 skinks in Thunder Lizards. That's still 30 wounds at -1 damage. But with the right buffs, they can still put out a decent amount of damage. With your priests and your star priests to help them do some mortals, they can still be a threat. He does have 3 salamanders here. Those are always nice. And a Basilodon to back all that up, so you can double fire that Basilodon in Thunder Lizards. And comes in at a cool 2,000 points, 117 wounds, and 11 drops. Pretty high on the drops, but you're probably okay with that, as you've got some ranged stuff you can do turn 1. And so, and getting hunters onto those skinks is kind of nice, so that they don't get just completely blown off when they get attacked. Vanguard and Warlord are both good. Getting that extra command, that extra artifact is nice. Getting the Cloak of Feathers on the Engine of the Gods makes them quite a bit tougher, and it can still slap when it gets into melee, especially if you get Curse off. So I like the list there. Let's see how he did. All right, here's Basil's lineup here. And round 1, he got a win versus Koatl's Claw. This is we'll talk about his list here in a second. Who he fought in round 1. A Carnosaur, 20 Knights, and 2 Basilodons. So some good shooting from that list, some good board control with the Knights, but got that win there versus the Brethren Seraphon. Round 2, a win versus Fire Slayers. This list had Gotrek and 40 Hearthguard. I think 30 of the ones with the pole axes that do mortals, and 10 maybe that were the shooting kind. But if that list gets a hold of you, you're dead. So I'm betting Basil kind of played it soft a little bit, killed off the power pieces, and then danced around Gotrek. Maybe got Gotrek with the skinks, but you don't want that list getting too close to you because it will murder you if it gets close. Round 3, you got a win versus Stormcast, Hammers Sigmar, 4 Fulminators, and 6 Raptors. I mean, you'll see that list a lot too. Sometimes you'll see the Fulminators, sometimes you'll see the Dragons. But those 6 Raptors are nasty. They will delete a lot of stuff. They get to double tap in the hero phase, or they get to shoot in the hero phase and then shoot in their shooting phase 1 time per game. And so if you're not careful, they will kill whatever they want to. They can do a ton of mortals, a ton of damage. So very good win there. Round 4 got a win versus Mega Gargants. This was your 4 Gargant list, 2 War Stompers and 2 Gatebreakers. So good job, Basil, on the DPS check. Can you take down a Gargant a turn? So it looks like he was able to do that. Round 5, he picked up his only loss of the tournament versus Stormcast Dragon Spam. This was a Knight Draconis, a Gardas, a Castellan, and 8 Dragons. So this is, of the Dragon Spams, I kind of like that list a lot because it has the Gardas and the Castellan to where you can really buff up some of these dragons. It kind of helps you protect them, Gardas does, or you can drop them down where you need them. That Castellan also helps protect those dragons, so it makes those dragons incredibly hard to kill. So tough loss there, but that's a thing that was against a pretty good list versus Basil. So great job, Basil, on the 4-1. That's pretty awesome. Coming in at 29th overall. A great showing. And next up, we've got Charles in his Koatl's Claw. Yes. Came in at 43rd place, which is awesome for Koatl's Claw. So great stuff there. And let's take a look at this because I'm always a fan of the Koatl's Claw lists. Even I don't run them all that often at tournaments, but You got to be a better pilot than I am to get this good of a result with Koatl's Claw. So well done, Charles. We got a Scarvet on Carnosaur as your general with War Spear, Discipline Fury, Eviscerating Blade, and Beastmaster. So those are your standard ones you're taking with Koatl's Claw. Lord Croak with Stellar Temp. Well, he knows all the spells, but Lord Croak in this list generating a lot of command points and a great little support piece, but can do some damage because he's also got the Source Astrolith Banner Bearer, which is going to push out his range on his spells, let him actually do some damage to things that are further away than just 10 inches. So he's got a Skink Star Priest with Arcane Tome to give him an extra spellcast and Hand of Glory. So this little guy's going to be pushing out some spells as well. Battle line, we got 5 Source Guard to help protect Croak, 10 Knights, and 10 Knights. 20 Knights. I like this list. I've got 20 Knights. You're making me want to run this list now. Both with lances, obviously, to get that extra damage on the charge, and then we've got 2 Basilodons to back that up with some shooting, which is great for Koatl's Claw because Koatl's Claw, if you're just running pure Source, basically doesn't have any shooting. So he's got some range projection with Croak with the Basilodons, as well as some dangerous melee pieces with these Knights. 10 Knights kind of suffer a little bit from coherency issues, but you can still get quite a few of them in. And they make for a lot of wounds you got to get through. I mean, that's 20 wounds in each one of those units at -1 damage. They're going to be at a 4-up save. You're probably going to have Mystic Shield on the one that's getting into it, and so you're on a 3-up. There's ways to help these guys stay alive. And once you kill what you need to, you can rally them back up if you need to. They pair excellently well with the Star Priest, obviously, who's going to be given whichever one's going in. He's going to give him the Venom Stick, give him the Mortal Wounds on wounds rolls of 6, so that really helps. We got Battle Regiment, Alpha Beast Pack, and Command Entourage to give him the extra artifact for 1980. 6 drops. 6 drops is good. Won't win you every priority, but it'll win you quite a few. And so that's good, especially on this list where you're not really having anything that's going to alpha strike in this list. Your Basilodons can hit stuff across the board, but really you're looking to take that chance at a double turn to get these Knights in there a little bit slower, so sometimes they're a little bit harder to get in. Let's look at how he did. So round 1, he picked up a loss versus Thunder Lizards. That was versus Basil's list. 3 Salamanders, 50 Skinks, and a Basilodon. May have just been able to outrange him, take out his power. If you lose a Star Priest in this list, the Knights are going to be not going to be doing near as much damage. And Thunder Lizard, actually, weirdly enough, it's going to reduce their charge bonuses. So it really kind of hurts the Knights going up against another Coalesce list. But lost there versus Basil's list. Round 2, we got a win versus Stormcast Eternals. This was 5 Dragons, 10 Judicators, and 6 Raptors. Woo! That sounds rough. Because the Judicators can do a lot of damage from rain. The Raptors are nasty, and it's got 5 Dragons. So, way to pull that one out, Charles. Great win versus a powerful Stormcast list. Round 3 was a loss versus Cruel Boys. This was Kragnos and 12 Bolt Boys. I was looking at this list. It looked nasty. So the Bolt Boys are going to do a ton of mortal wounds from range. They're gonna shoot you into a ton of mortal wounds, which passes right through all of our coalesced scaly skin stuff. And then Kragnos is just going to be in your face. He is going to do a ton of mortal wounds on the charge. He's going to do a ton of damage, whatever he gets to. And then his save is a 2-up save. And so a lot of things in this list just aren't going to get through that. We don't have enough rend in the army to get past Kragnos. It's unless you've got Salamanders, Kragnos can be pretty difficult to face off against. So picked up a loss there versus the new Kragnos. Round 4, you got a win versus Nighthaunt, and it looked like that list was a lot of MSU spam, lots of small units trying to do some board control stuff. So I think he was able to grab a hold of those ghosts and tear them apart. Round 5, you got a win versus I had enough Deepkin. I think I wrote the wrong thing there. 50 Reavers, 2 Sharks, 6 Eels, and a Turtle. So it had a ton of Reavers in this list. But it's kind of a good overall, all around list there. But he was able to pick up the win versus the Eineth Deepkin and came out 3-2. A great showing for Koatl's Claw. And so, well done on that one, Charles. All right, for the last one, we're gonna kind of look at a little bit more in depth is Matt Abbott. He came in at number 44 with the Fangs of Sotek list. Also took prize sorcery, so don't get your Lord Croak killed. And he's got some Source Guard in there to help out with that. He's also got Source Astrolith Bannerbearer to give Croak extra range. He's got a Star Priest with Hand of Glory. And 2 priests, both of them with Curse. So he's probably trying to get these guys in close. He's going to be moving them up with the Skinks to help do some damage. If they can get that Curse off, it is nice. So some good tech there. Battle line, he got 5 Source Guard, 30 Skinks, and 10 Skinks and 10 Skinks. So we've got some Skinks to fill out the battle line and play the board. We've got 2 Salamanders and 2 Stormdrake Guard. Nice. So we got another list with some dragons in it, taking some dragon allies there. And that works. I think it works pretty well in our lists. You know, we don't really have that alpha strike in a lot of our lists unless we're teleporting stuff up. I mean, hey, that's a good strategy. But it's not like we're throwing something big, heavy melee into that's going to bog them down. We're more of a scalpel on our alpha strikes. So having these Stormdrake Guard that can move in the hero phase is a beautiful addition. I think you may be seeing a lot of Order armies. You know, just add dragons. So I'm curious how they did form this game. I think they're a good addition to our army, especially in something like Fangs, where you have a lot of good movement, you have a lot of good board control. Now you need something to get into their face and kind of hold them down for a turn or two. Let's see how he did there. Round 1, he got a win versus Stormcast Dragon Spam. So that was 2 knights and 8 dragons. So nice. So the Stormcast Dragon list fell to the Seraphon with 2 dragons. Nicely done. Show them who made these dragons. Apparently, you guys know I don't really read the lore much, but I've heard that the Seraphon is the ones that are actually make the dragons for the Stormcast. Anyway, round 2, he got a win versus Legion of the First Prince. This was a very hero-heavy list. Greater Unclean One, Bloodthirster, Kairos. There wasn't a Bellicor or any pinks, which you see a lot in the Legion of the First Prince. I think all his battle lines were like direwolves, but very hero-heavy. And so if you can take out those heroes, then they're going to have some struggle on, or if you take out the battle line, just those direwolves, they're gonna struggle a little bit on controlling the board. Their heroes are tough, especially that Greater Unclean when they can be tough. But if you can take out their board presence, you can have a pretty good win chance. Round 3, got a win versus Soul Blight. This one was also hero heavy. It had its battle line was just 5 Blood Knights, 5 Blood Knights, and 10 Direwolves. So lots of heroes in that one. I'm guessing that one came down to board control as well. Round 4, you got a loss versus Living Cities. This was Gavin's list, so he did take an L to Gavin with the Living Cities meta pick there for Gavin. A tough matchup, so no surprise there. That took the loss. Loss in round 5 versus Night Hunt. This was I looked at this list and I'm not even sure what this list was going on. It's got Nagash. This is a Night Hunt list with Nagash and a unit of 9 Spirit Hosts. Now I know Spirit Hosts can like throw out a ton of wounds or a ton of dice, and they do mortals on 6s. But I'd be real interested to know what happened in that game and what that player was doing with 9 Spirit Hosts in a man. Can you imagine building 9 Spirit Hosts? Have you ever, if you've never tried to build one of those, like try to find some instructions on it, and those things are a nightmare to build. I think I got them in one of these starter kits for Stormcast and tried to put it together, and just about threw the thing away. I was done with it. So props to whoever that was for building 9 Spirit Hosts. But a great showing overall for Matt, 3-2, and a good job there at LVO. And the rest of the lizards, we Seraphon had a great showing. I'm very happy with how everybody placed. We had Christopher with his Thunder Lizard coming in 46th with Croak, Engine of God, 2 Salamander, 2 Bastillons. So a good list there in Thunder Lizard. Number 58, another Texas guy, Ben Riddle, went 3 and 2. Thunder Lizard, also Croak, Engine of Gods, and 3 Stegodons. Yes. I've played Ben before. Great guy. I saw he was 3 and 2 after day 1, and I was rooting for you. I was rooting for all of you. I was rooting for Seraphon to do well in all these. Number 61, Richard. I think he's Texas too. I think I've seen him pop around some of these tournaments down here. Thunder Lizard. We had 2 Stegodon Chiefs. Nice. 2 Bastillodons, a Stegodon. No Slon. Richard and Sean also. Sean in 69. Nice. Also had no Slon. So, I've run a no Slon list in Thunder Lizard before with a bunch of Stegodons, and I like it. The Slon is very useful, but sometimes you just need the extra Stegodon. Sean's list, Thunder Lizard, Engine of God, 2 Stegodons, 3 Salamanders, and a Bastillodon. And then number 71, Jarrett had Fangs with Croak, 70 Skinks, and 2 Stormcast Dragons. So, hey, I'm happy everybody in Seraphon went 3 and 2 or above. I think there was one more Seraphon list, but they didn't play out the entire tournament. I think they had left after day 1. But a great showing from Seraphon. I think we're in a great spot. Get those right matchups and, avoid Gavin, and you can win a tournament. So great showing from everybody. Let's look at how we did versus the meta. So I kind of define the meta as like your Stormdrake, Guard, and Fulminators list. I think I think we're going to see a lot of that. It's low model count. It's kind of easy to play. They do a ton of damage. And I think you'll see it popping up at a lot of tournaments over the next few months, maybe until the next GHB. But Seraphon does pretty well against it. We had 10 matchups versus Stormdrake Guard or Fulminators, or a combination of the two. And out of those 10 matchups, Seraphon won 6 and only lost 4. And so, that tells me either you guys are great players or Seraphon is a good matchup versus the that kind of meta dragon and fulminator. Or it could be a combination of both guys. Y'all could be great players, and it's just a good matchup. So I think I like that. Our chances against that, we do reduce a lot of, especially Thunder Lizard reduces a lot of the damage from the Stormdrake and from the Fulminators, and so that does help out a lot. A lot of times we have more bodies than they do. But versus the Stormcast Eternals list, we had 4 wins and 2 losses. Versus the Living Cities lists, we had 2 wins and 2 losses. So I think Living Cities is a little bit better. Now, 2 of those losses were against Gavin's list, who ended up winning the tournaments. But I think Living Cities may be where you see these things pop up a lot as more people start kind of focusing on the synergies that really work well with these things. You'll probably see them more in Stormcast. I think we have a little bit better chance against them in Stormcast in Living Cities, where they have better movement and better board control and more bodies, really. So overall, great job versus the meta of Stormdrake Guard and Fulminators. Well, I think this has gone long enough. Sorry I couldn't cover everybody's list, but if you're watching this and you're at LVO, let us know in the comments below how your tournament went. Let me know if you had any epic moments, if you killed any god models, and what your dragon kill count was. All right, guys. We'll see you on the next one. See ya.